I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so glad you're back on the
I
podcast.
know.
So we have
Happy to be here. Been away for a long time.
got a few people in the chat so far. It's hard with these midday or these morning ones. We don't get a lot of people off the bat, but it's sure to get. There's so much to talk about. I just saw JB said prayers for Florida, and I think
my gosh,
everybody's head is there right now too. I wasn't sure if we were going to get to it, but I did save a live channel that is streaming the storm right now onto one of my playlists for us.
Did?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if the audience, their minds were there right now. I'm actually pulling it up. Oh, they're not live streaming anymore. Never mind. But maybe if we have time afterwards, we'll circle back and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one guy that works for me lives in Miami and he's in Orlando right now, and just the whole state is in a state of emergency, I would say. And another guy that works for me just bought a house like a month ago in Sarasota.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's going right to Sarasota, and like right in front of Sarasota you have Siesta Key, and I was thinking about Siesta Keys just because
and the Bay Area Reefs.
Well, it's just crazy because I think like that island is probably going to get completely flattened. And when I lived down in Florida, I don't know what it's like now, but that beach was on Siesta Key was voted the most beautiful beach in the world, like 3 or 4 times in 10 years. So
yeah, it still is number one. They say they're going to lose a lot of the beaches. It's so disastrous. It's not even, I just keep praying that something happens at the last minute to like reduce the velocity of the storm or send it in another direction. I don't know, but that's too much devastation for those people down there.
I know. Well, I think on the lines of what you were saying, they said that this morning when I was watching it, the eye it looked like it might have a new emerging eye. It would be the third one, which would weaken the storm. I think some of the inertia is gone because it passed over that tip of Mexico and then it 5 to 4. It doesn't change much though. With a 10 to 15 foot storm surge, everything will be devastated. And
now they're saying up to 20 feet storm surges. So you can't, that's not even, and like they said, and people still have time to get out, and they should if they can. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, we don't want to, I'm not trying to distract, but we should take a moment just to remember our brothers in Florida. And I'm going to bring up, so just so everybody knows, Gia has not been on this podcast in months. And even before that, I got suspended from YouTube, and we had a very thriving podcast up until the day I was suspended. So we're fresh off our suspension, the Peru sisters. And so what I'm getting at is there's a lot of, as you know, if you follow this case, it's super complicated and there's a lot of moving parts. So please be patient with Gia as we're getting her up to speed, but I'm showing her a lot of relevant things now. So, all right. So let me grab my script so I don't fricking forget anything. All right. So this document is what the closed hearing was about yesterday, and it's regarding funding for Bryan Kohberger's public defender, Ann Taylor. Oh, hey, Jeff says the dynamic duo is back.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, you got a mod on your channel. Nice, Gia. Hey, Chris, for being here. Yeah, that's so cute. So anyway, back to I've heard a lot of headlines coming out of YouTubers, and we're going to get into it. But let me first just I'm going to read the document so we're all on the same page, and then Gia and I have a couple things to say about it. So again, this is the closed hearing that was yesterday. Make sure I have the right one. By this order, court directs that the current defense counsel, Ann Taylor, Elisa Mathith, Jay Logson shall remain as counselor of record for defendant unless they are relieved by the subsequent order of this court. An ex parte sealed closed hearing will be held on Tuesday, October 8th, 2024 at 1 p.m. in the Ada County Courthouse. Counsel shall appear either in person or via WebEx. At the hearing, the court will consider the defendant's representation status and obligation of the state's public defender to pay the cost of the representation to state public defender. Eric Fredrickson must appear at the hearing as well. So Gia, you've been kind of looking through some of the comments. So we saw Drunk Turkey and Harsh Reality both came out with videos saying Anne's out.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to. I quickly looked over at Harsh's because I was there. There's no way she could be out that fast, just because it's a matter of process of the court, right? You can't just, you have to withdraw your appearance, and it's a big deal. There would be hearings on that and everything else. So they couldn't know that yet, is my point, because the hearing was just yesterday, right? And in the hearing, she didn't say she was withdrawing or anything about it. So I think that's just speculation at this point.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I kind of did, I went to, because I saw that the Drunk Turkey show had that for a headline as well. And so I kind of just went in to see where he was coming, because he hadn't, like, I think it was probably like a 2-hour live stream. So I knew he probably went into depth. And I just wanted to see what he was referencing to say Anne was going in. I guess the point he was trying to make is they signed some sort of legislation where they're trying to, I don't know, watch the taxpayers' dollars, so to speak, when it comes to the public defender's office. And he was saying it's a possibility she's out because she's asking for too much money. But I think
went to private practice.
She did. Yeah, a partial private practice. I think it's a hybrid of the two. I'm not 100% sure, but that happened this summer. But I just want to remind everyone watching something we found out when this document first came out, which is somebody can't just leave. The attorney can't just say, I'm done, and leave. The judge has to release them. They even have to work for free if the judge says, no, actually, this is what Lawyer said when he was reviewing this. I was watching him review this. He said, no, if the judge says you're working for free, you're working for free. That's you can't, because here's the thing is, if she was to leave, it could, in certain circumstances, it could actually damage the client's case to see the lawyer walking out at such an advanced stage. Or maybe to have even someone come in and take over at that point. Do you have any thoughts on that, Chia?
But I think that does happen a lot of the times. And I think probably, I didn't see what Drunk Turkey did, but I just briefly looked at Harsh. I think that what they were kind of doing was a little bit of a play on words. Like, even though they didn't pose it as they posed it as a statement, I think what they were saying is like food for thought, right? So similar to what you're saying is like, hey, she's in there saying this is going to be very expensive. She's in partial private practice now. She's no longer a 100% court order, right? I think she got $200 an hour for that. So maybe her price has gone up, and maybe she's doing things like asking for a higher amount per hour from the court. I don't know, but she hasn't done that yet because she'd have to do it by a motion. And we haven't seen that, right? So anytime you want to ask the court anything, it has to be done through a motion. I just think they're putting it out there because it is kind of like, that's interesting. And lawyers do leave cases, in the middle of, I see it all the time in my practice, but that's family law. But they might get another job with a different firm, or they may, who knows, but they withdraw from cases all the time. And the client does think it's like, oh my gosh, this is the crux of my case. I can't believe you're leaving at this point. But they are allowed to. To your point a little earlier, a judge can say no. Judge can say no, you can't withdraw. And then
even in family practice, or just in criminal, like in family practice, could they say no?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It looks like
I don't see it. You don't see them say no in family law ever, really. But this is not, it's never a case of your life is on the line either, right? So there's a lot more at stake with Bryan Kohberger than someone getting divorced.
It's well said. It looks like a few people did see Harsh's video in here. KK250 says, Harsh did not say AT is out. She is not out. Please stop spreading false info.
We didn't say that.
We're not coming in late.
Oh, she must have come in late because we're saying he was indicating. We were just questioning, was he saying that or wasn't he? And we sort of came to the conclusion he was putting it out there for fodder, food for thought, right? So no.
Harsh is smart enough to know what I was saying.
Yeah.
Wait, my scroll. We're gonna. I need to read the comments before I put them up. I'm comment happy right now. Oh, Daniel's okay. There's a lot there. I guess the live chat was controversial last night. So we might want to
Okay.
So anyway, it doesn't look like AT's out, but we would, you know, like Gia said, the first thing that we'd see is her motioning for a hearing.
Should motion for withdrawal from the case, and you know, and let's face it, why would she? She's not going to let this go. This is the biggest case of her career. I mean, this is giving her a lot of attention. I can't imagine why she would leave, and yeah, I don't think she will. Why she doesn't, you know, I mean, there would have to be a big reason, like she had terminal cancer, or you know what I mean? Like at this point, I can't imagine. There's no reason to withdraw her appearance.
I can't imagine either. And then
yeah, someone's saying Harsh wants 8,000 pounds, $10,000 for travel for himself. I saw him put something up there looking for help.
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, thank you, Trisha. You're so sweet. Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to stay out of the discussion of the GoFundMes. So it's just, I don't feel like I have anything of value to add to that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm going to show our first soundbite, and I know you're going to find this interesting. So actually, I know this. I was going to grab my script, but I know what I'm going to say by heart. I'll just tell you. So basically, I was trying to think of the best way to get Gia up to speed so that we could have a nice flowing podcast, because there's so many things to talk about. When I was suspended from YouTube, it was the beginning of April or something. So I've only had 1 or 2 podcasts with Gia since then. And so what I've done is I've gathered a soundbite that summarizes the 3 experts that really had taken the spotlight before change of venue became engulfing this entire case. So for the last few months. So I'm going to show this clip now, and it shows all 3 experts. I think everyone watching is going to enjoy this because it's one of everybody's favorite creators, Old Crime Circus here. And oh gosh, what was the timestamp? Oh, I got the timestamp.
In today's brand.
How do I turn up the volume?
Moscow, Idaho investigative video.
Hold on, Gia. This isn't working, you guys. Hold on a second. I'm gonna turn off my camera. I'm just gonna have to open a new screen, I think. Hold on one second. Yeah, thanks for taking care of the chat, Gia, while I'm doing this. I just got to open up a new screen because for some reason I didn't have any sound on that. All right, my playlists. Okay. There we go. Yay. Okay, there we go. All right, sorry for the delay, you guys. Now let's get on with our soundbite. So we're bringing up Crime Circus. Drip Drop made this excellent video. I had been studying it because I was actually going to do a video on it before he came out with his latest one. But let me grab that timestamp because it tells me when to start and stop. And I don't want to go into a rabbit hole with Drip Drop. All right, so we're going to start this clip at 10:25.
Business on how to get to the 3rd floor balcony. It's sus, and I don't like to see people making comments like that. It gives me goosebumps. It really does. Now let's watch a short little clip of Brett Payne, the lead detective, the one that arrested Bryan Kohberger for this case, the one that wrote the probable cause affidavit for his arrest, on the stand being questioned by Ann Taylor, Bryan Kohberger's attorney.
How many video surveillance attempts did you make to get video from businesses or homes on all of those routes?
I do not recall, but it continued for some time, attempting to find additional video footage.
What did you find?
Nothing to my recollection.
Not one video depicting the car.
To my memory, though.
What?
Not one video depicting the car.
To my memory, though.
Oh my God.
So apparently Brian Koberger's car is not on video in Moscow, Idaho? Is that what we just heard? Or am I mishearing things?
Not one video depicting the car.
To my memory, though.
Moving right along. Now, let's listen to a very brief clip of an expert witness testifying at a Brian Koberger hearing.
The content of the data, though, is it helpful to us in representing Mr. Koberger?
It absolutely is helpful. Everything that I've seen to date is concerning to me because it's exculpatory.
Exculpatory. Do you realize somebody can't just sit in the courtroom and lie? That would be perjury, which means he's telling the truth, and everything he's seen so far is exculpatory. You can see the disgust and shock on the judge's face as this man speaks. Also of important note, the prosecution did not ask this expert witness a single question. Nothing. When have you ever seen that happen in the courtroom? Typically, the prosecution can't wait to discredit a defense's expert witness when he's on the stand. But he didn't have a single question for him because this guy knows what he's talking about. He's really smart with a really high IQ. He doesn't care one way or the other if Brian Koberger's guilty. You know why? Because he's former law enforcement and he's married to somebody that was almost in the FBI. Yeah, surely him and his wife would love to see the actual perpetrator of this crime locked away or put away or underneath the prison forever. However, the evidence is exculpatory. Yeah, it's safe to say at this point, Brian Koberger is most likely innocent. Scary, yeah. Let's move on. We've all heard the accusations and false allegations of Brian Koberger stalking one or more of the victims since day one. You know, the 12 pings, supposedly him going to Mad Greek to eat, so on and so forth. It's all been rumors and blatant lies. While this man who conducted a survey is on the stand, the prosecution admits all stalking accusations are false.
You acknowledge false that Mr. Koberger allegedly stalked one of the victims. That's false. You know that to be false.
Which one?
That Mr. Koberger allegedly stalked one of the victims.
Yes, I was trying not to say that because
But you knew that was false.
I did.
Yes. And so you have now, for anybody who had never heard that before, that question is now planted into them, unqualified representation that Mr. Koberger stalked one of the witnesses, and that's false.
That's false. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
The Instagram accounts of Brian Koberger, those were fake.
This is a big deal.
Yeah. There's some sick individuals out there that will create fake accounts using other people's pictures. It's disgusting. What? Don't take my word for it. Let's listen to the prosecutor again.
Allegedly stalked one of the victims. That's false. You know that to be false.
Which one? That's false. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Brian Koberger did not stalk any of the victims. Keep in mind, Ann Taylor has previously stated in the courtroom her client, Brian Koberger, has no connection to the victims. And we haven't caught her lying yet, have we? She's told us the truth, and it's been backed up by the prosecution and every witness we've seen on the stand, including expert witnesses and even the lead detective in this case. He doesn't recall where the videos in this case are. If the lead detective doesn't know exactly where the videos are of Brian Koberger's car, but supposedly the clerk does, oh my God.
Actually, I know you've seen that witness because I remember, Gio, we went over that in the show before. But anyway, so that's the only one, though, I think you've been debriefed on.
We're supposed to believe this? That's crazy.
Your Honor, Brian is innocent. Brian is innocent.
So we know they don't have Brian Koberger's car on video. We know that the cell phone data is exculpatory towards Brian Koberger. And we know that the defense and prosecution both agree that Brian Koberger was not stalking these victims. Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana.
And we're going to stop there. Okay. Gia,
Yes, I'm sorry. My son is texting me.
is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just my college son who, when he
Oh.
texts me, I'm like, yes, because I don't hear from him that much. But
Well, it's
Anyway.
nice that I got the final conclusion, not to tell you guys all about our personal lives. But last night I found out from Gia that her college-age son is bringing his girlfriend to Thanksgiving, and they're all coming up north to New Hampshire, where I'm going for Thanksgiving. So that's fun. So that's
Yeah.
gonna be nice to meet her. Anyway, on this video, this guy right here. Hold on, this guy. Do you remember him at all, Gia?
hi, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I just wanted to make sure
Yep,
before
yep,
you
yeah.
know. So what I wanted to bring up for you is the shout out he did for this channel, which was really cool. So I'm gonna bring that up before we move on to new current events, just because I'm very proud of my shout out. Sorry, guys. But it's also really interesting and it's really informative. So if you want to come to my channel, it's called Ask More Questions.
Or Kiki.
I was just saying, I was just letting you guys talk. Yeah, I have it right here. Let me present it to you. All right. So I actually have a little playlist here. Stop my camera. Now that I've and again, for anyone tuning in who doesn't know why I'm driving this point home so hard, let's just listen one more time to how Cy describes this under a gag order in this case.
Because we can't talk about it. We are under court gags from time to time, and there's multiple cases I've had this happen. But what people need to understand is when a judge issues a gag order on a case like this, it's not the judge saying, I would really appreciate it if you didn't do this. It is a lawful court order, which means you violate that, you can be criminally charged. You can actually go to jail. So I want our socialites to just take a second. If you see an expert on YouTube who is claiming to have reviewed evidence on a case where a gag order has been issued and then is now giving you his opinion of that evidence before the trial, one of two things is happening. A, he just committed a crime that he can be indicted for. Or B, the more probable one, he is totally full of it. There's no other option here. If you reviewed evidence and you have an opinion, that evidence is sealed by a gag order, and now you're making your opinion public on YouTube, you committed a crime. Or you're just a liar.
Interesting.
Yeah, so let's go with a happy thought here. My parting thought for our socialites, and I've got to do a couple shout outs right here. There is another YouTube channel called Swamp Rose, and I have to be honest, when I got an email from Swamp Rose, I'm like, what is Swamp Rose? I think her name is Kiki. So Kiki reached out to me and she says, hey, I have a guest that I want to bring on my show. And he said he knows you. And it was kind of this weird chat conversation that I was in. And he name dropped you and said that, no, even Cy Ray can validate who I am. And I've got to give it to Kiki, Swamp Rose, where she actually reached out to me and said, hey, I want to bring this guy on my show. He's saying I can validate who he is through you. What do you know about him?
And her email was very articulate.
Yeah,
She's
great. And we'll put a little link to
really nice.
her channel. It's official Swamp Rose. If you just Google that for YouTube, you'll get to her channel. So I start doing a little bit of research and she sends me this guy's YouTube channel, and it's Matt. He claims to be some type of Homeland Security expert that worked for Homeland Security.
Is that even a real guy? It looks like a model, or
Yeah, 100%.
it's like a stock image.
Yeah. So I start doing some background research and I find out this guy's totally full of crap. It's a fake channel. It's a fake person. In fact, I think a lot of it is written by AI. When she reaches out for him to confirm, hey, you said you know Cy. He's like, oh, yeah, we served together in Iraq. He'll know me as Rear Admiral Abernathy, which, just so everybody's clear, in the Navy, that's a general. So, yeah, I know this Rear Admiral Abernathy in Iraq.
Picture is not someone who is a general.
Right. So the first red flag, I've never been to Iraq. I was in Afghanistan. So that's a problem. When I Google Rear Admiral Abernathy, it's a real dude from World War II. He's actually kind of a war hero. So
Oh
it's
my
pretty clear that someone's probably using AI to help bolster some of their stuff. AI is pulling out these names because it's seeing this in the data. And if you just take a little bit of time to Google this stuff, it's pretty easy to find. So I reached back out to Kiki at Swamp Rose and I'm like, hey, this guy's completely full of it. Run away. Do not put him on your show. She reached back, couldn't thank me enough, was super nice. Well, a couple weeks later, again, I don't keep up with a lot of the YouTube channels. She's doing a panel on the Drunk Turkey Show, and we'll put a link to their show. We'll give them a little plug as well. And it's long. This panel goes for a couple hours. At the 2-hour, 25-minute, roughly 56-second mark, she actually states, hey, I want to say I reached out to Cy, and here was my experience with him. But she's talking about the experience of vetting potential experts who want to come in and say whatever it is they can say for their 5 minutes of fame. And I want to throw this out there. We are happy to take these emails. We're happy to take these calls. I am happy to help vet people. I'm happy to vet their work product. At the end of the day, one of the reasons we did Socialite Crime Club is I watched other things and I was like, that's not right. There's no way that is accurate.
Well, more importantly, you can say why.
Well, and that's just it. And if people ask, I'm happy to say why. Now, I can't talk about certain cases and I won't talk about certain cases, but there's other things I can absolutely help with. But I do feel that YouTube creators and guests on YouTube channels have a responsibility to stay accurate, to not just make stuff up, because it really brings the entire community down to where pretty soon, I can't watch true crime because it's all fake.
Well, quite frankly, I don't think it's just YouTube creators. It's investigative journalists. It's
100%.
these reporters, Nancy Grace, for instance.
Oh, you're going after the queen.
I am.
Yeah.
I feel like there could be much, I don't know, there could be more effort and really
I have a
understanding.
word: sensationalism. How much can I sensationalize this victim? How much can I sensationalize these victims' parents?
Right. It just turns for me into rabbit hole crime. It's very conspiratorial. And
We don't have that in our socialite crime titles, do we? Do we have rabbit hole?
We do have rabbit hole crime, but it's probably one that we'll never use as a theme.
Right.
We'll talk about it.
All right. So let's wrap that up. And that's where I wanted this episode to go at the end is we want to show our work product because it speaks for itself. And I hope that this was a really good example for our socialites. The other thing is vet. We are offering our help and services in vetting processes. Whatever we can do, we're happy to do it. And we've given a couple examples of where we have.
Thank you for joining us today, Social.
So I don't know. That's how I wanted to complete that little.
I like Soy Ray a lot. He's great.
And Carrie is so cool. She actually is former law enforcement as well. And I love that I love her nerve. Like just being able to call out Nancy Grace like that. And she's a huge platform. They have a really successful podcast. And I just think her little fearless statement there was really cool. I mean, I thought since I was playing this segment again, I would just elaborate on one thing that he just said, because I think that a few people were confused about the second interaction that Cy and I had. Like the first one, I was contacting him because I was vetting someone coming on my show. The second time he says I contacted him because I went on Drunk Turkey Show. I actually was dropping a professional courtesy because he had mentioned that was one of the things that professionals do is when they drop your name, they let you know they've dropped their name. And during that show, I just wanted to come to Cy's defense. I said my experiences with Cy and Carrie in my vetting process. And then I sent him that clip in the timestamp. So he knew, as professional courtesy, I dropped his name. So just to clear up why I emailed him the second time.
Mm-hmm.
People. Oh, yeah. Come on. Let's get those likes up, you guys. We got Gia here. We want her to come back. Let's kick it in the algorithm. So take this off screen. So did you have to take a phone call right now?
I did. My son, I had to, it wasn't, you always think like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? When they're like, call me. It'll only take a minute. He was just wanted to tell me about his time at the career fair. So.
Oh, is he still sick or is he feeling better?
Gianni.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope he had a good time at the career
Yeah.
fair.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, hey, Texas Ranger. I mean, that was really all we had for updates to get Gia back on speed. The only other thing that I was thinking is if you wanted to, we could look at some live coverage of the hurricane. If we still have like 100 people in chat. So I don't know if you guys want to get an update on the hurricane. I'm kind of interested in that too. It's probably the first thing I'm going to do when I leave here. So why don't I turn off my camera? We'll give an update like we said we would, and then we're going to call it a day.
Yay. I'm like happy to be back.
I'm happy to have you back. All right. Hurricane. I know the hurricane is supposed to, it's not going to make landfall till later, but I'm sure it's already hitting. Okay. This one, we're going to go to Channel 10 in Tampa is tracking right now. And I really do like the local channels best. So let me share my screen. We're going to check out Tampa. It's 10 Tampa Bay.
We can bring you the story. I want to go to Miranda Parnell. I understand that she's in Gulfport. Let's see what she's talking about out there.
You might not be able to hear it fully in the background, but Gulfport Police Department has been playing this message all day long. They're riding around the city, letting people know that it is time to evacuate. It's past time to evacuate. This is one of those mandatory evacuation zones, and they have been working throughout the day to clear this place out, playing this message. We talked to one officer who said they're still dealing with issues from Helene, like this boat here. This is one of the boats that washed onto the shore all the way nearly onto the sidewalk after that hurricane. And now we're dealing with an even more powerful storm that is headed straight our way. So they're asking people to, if you haven't left already, please leave. They're also asking people, especially folks who live on the boats, to go ahead and get to safety. They have expanded shelters in Pinellas County. They have added more shelters. They say that they know that enough people aren't there. We talked to emergency management officials this morning, and they're begging people to come inland. They say you don't have to go to Georgia, you don't have to go to Alabama, South Carolina to get safety from this storm. You just need to move inland. So
hold on a second. So I thought the storm, I didn't think they could move inland, but
They
also
can.
people, what they can, okay.
Mhm.
Some people are saying in the chat that Kane hadn't evacuated yet. Maybe I got that wrong, but I know Kane was kind of in the line of the eye. So I'd love to know if Kane is safe and sound or if he's already evacuated.
You're inland. It's just, I mean, you don't have to worry obviously about the surges. It's wind and rain. But you won't die. Like what they're saying is you're gonna die if you stay in these areas where you're told to evacuate and you're not.
It's so surreal when you say it like that.
Well, I mean, it's just come on, people. Listen, like why chance it? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. There's no material thing that could cause you to stay in your house.
Right. No.
If you are in these mandatory evacuation zones, you need to get that way. We have seen a couple people out here, a lot of them just making those last few minute preparations before they head out, but some of them trying to ride out the storm. They are begging you not to do that, not to play around with the storm. There's all kind of debris out here, not just the boats. Anything could be blowing around. So even if you're trying to be a looky-loo, they have asked you not to do that. You don't want to step outside during this storm trying to get your TikTok video or something that'll make you go viral. Your life is not worth that. We're about to get out of here soon because the wind gusts are picking up and it's not going to be safe for us much longer. So in Gulfport, Miranda Parnell, 10 Tampa Bay.
And to her point, officials have been saying for some time now, stay out the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And we want to get another check in Sarasota, where the barrier islands have been closed, access to them.
Yeah.
You'll find
Yes.
police at the entrance to
They're
the
gonna
John
be
Wayne Causeway
annihilated.
and all the other areas that you can find
Absolutely.
access to the beach, as people are not allowed to get in. But if you're trying to get out, that is available. We want to send it now to our Rob Hackford, live from Venice, with the latest there. Rob, what can you tell us?
Sweet. Hold on a second.
Yeah, guys, we've really felt the
because they're talking about Venice right now. So I have a question for the chat. I have a question for Gia. I was asking this to my husband earlier today. So like when the eye of the storm comes, because we're watching it, it's coming like right to Sarasota. I used to live north of there. I've lived a lot of different places in Florida, but I spent a lot of time in one of those barrier islands called Madeira. And the tip of Madeira is a place called Treasure Island. It's part of the city of Madeira. And the Treasure Island is what connects St. Petersburg to the barrier islands. And they've been showing, because Treasure Island has tons of cameras everywhere. So they've been showing Treasure Island. And when I was saying, they kept saying Tampa's going to be underwater, like 50, you were saying 20-foot storm surge. I heard 15.
Mhm.
And but it was less where the eye was hitting. So what he was telling me this morning is like above the eye is where the storm surge comes, and below the eye is where the winds hit. So Venice, I think, would be in the crosshairs of like the 120-mile-an-hour winds or whatever, as far as I know. Just interjecting my non-professional knowledge there, you guys.
The wind pickup here, it's starting to blow sideways, spray you in the face. We've even been able to see the bands of Hurricane Milton overhead with quite a bit of lightning as well. So conditions here have certainly worsened over the past hour. We've been out since 1 a.m. And as you would expect, as this moves closer to shore, you can tell things are picking up here and conditions have certainly worsened. Very few cars on the road, not advised to be on the road at this point. We're actually undercover right now at the hotel we're staying at just off I-75, a little further inland. But a lot to monitor and to see, even in just this small area. The trees really starting to whip up as well here. We were at a shelter earlier where some folks were heading out to. You guys mentioned as well that shelter is now closed. They're sending people within this area in Sarasota County to different locations. So if you are still seeking shelter, now is the time to act. Noon was that time. We're recommending folks to get out of their homes if they needed to evacuate, if they were in that mandatory zone. And you can just tell from what you see around us here, this is why. As things get worse on the roads, you will not be able to see as it gets darker, especially as the wind picks up here. It is unsafe to be outside, again, hence why we're undercover here at our hotel. So for now, I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio. We're going to see cover here in just a second as it continues to whip up and figure out a safe point as well to head down to Venice Beach, potentially, with some of the wave action down there. Again, safety going to be the key here.
Undercover and staying out of harm's way. Thank you, Rob. Get to safety.
Well, now we want to send it over to our meteorologist, Bobby Deskins, our chief meteorologist, with the latest on the storm's path and what we can expect. Hey, Bobby.
I want to get you updated on that tornado warning that we have into Highlands County because we're starting to see a lot of spin. In fact, if you look at, we've got our little storm trackers on here, and the radar itself, the software actually can tell you where it sees rotation, and we're starting to see a whole lot of that. Warnings are out here south of Highlands County right now. We've got some rotation off of Hudson, although that is moving more to the northwest, just barely. So I think most of that will stay just off the coast. So let's get in here just a little bit more because basically the warnings now are all right along our southern area here. So there's Lake Placid. There's the cell that we're watching. I think this actually ends up just to the east of Lake Placid. Great news there. Weird. But you can see we've got the second cell that's down here, still not in Highlands County. We'll start tracking that when it gets closer, but that one's going to be closer to that 27, I think that is, and then right into Lake Placid. So that's the one more that we want to watch. Looking at what we call the velocity, this shows us that spin in the atmosphere, the reason why the warning. You can see the one that we've been tracking here east of Lake Placid is not looking as impressive, but the one that's a little bit further to the south really does. You can pick it out yourself right there. You see that? These colors right in here, that blue and then that red, that's showing the rotations just going just like this. All right. So there's 27. 27 comes up here, then kind of goes to the north and the west and goes right into Lake Placid. This is a half an hour away from Lake Placid. Okay. At least this particular cell. Let's come back out here. Here's the center. The hurricane force winds, they go out 35 miles from the center. All right. Not terrible, but that will actually spread out a little bit. So that swath of wind is going to be probably about 40 miles or so as it comes on shore later tonight. You can see I put the center track in. Again, I don't really like doing that, but when we're watching it on radar, I do that because then I can see if it's jogging north or south of this line, and then we get a better idea where it's going to impact along the coast. But I wanted to show you this because tropical storm force winds go out from the center 175 miles. So let's track that now because that's just about getting to the coast. The coast itself is about 118 miles. So yeah, we're getting it. A lot of these winds are stretched out to the north here, but we're at the point now where the wind should start picking up throughout the day today, and we'll start seeing those gusts easily. Well, we've already seen some in the 40s, but easily start seeing gusts in the 40s with sustained winds in the 20s and the 30s, and then just increasing as we go
above sea level.
The evening hours. So let's go back out real fast to our tornado warnings. I want to kind of sum those up for you, and then we'll get back to the news. But we've got the main one in Highlands County now, just getting ready to cross into the county border, but it's right here. Okay, that's it. This is going to go, I think, even east of Sunvale. It's going to be close, but mainly up towards Plains. And then you've got Coleman, you've got Sebring to the north, Lake Placid here. All of these areas should be in the clear. Lake Placid, you are right now, but I want to make sure because this is going to go to the northwest at around 35. I'll track it a little bit faster than that. It's going to be over towards Marlin, towards Plains around 12:38. We're at 12:15 right now. So what's that? 23 minutes or so. And then up towards Sunnyland School around 12:42. That's if it holds together. Typically, they're a little bit weaker. These have not been weaker. These cells are bigger thunderstorms. And the bigger the thunderstorm, the better usually the structure, which means the longer that these things can hold on. And so those ones we really want to watch. If we actually look at the cloud tops here, get some indication that, yeah, see, that's a tall one there. And generally, you know, it's not a lot of people may not know. I mean, that cloud top's up there 47,000 feet. If you look at the cloud tops in most of hurricanes, 30,000 feet. You're flying higher than that when you're flying on most passenger airlines. All right. Summertime thunderstorms that we get here in the Tampa Bay area and Central and South Florida were around 47,000 feet. They can get even bigger than that. That is more of a thunderstorm versus the rain that we're going to see. In fact, let me just zoom out here a little bit and show you what the rest of the hurricane looks like. And this is basically showing you the top of the hurricane, just how big it is. And you can see how much taller those are. The darker reds is what you're looking at. And then look at this, right around that eye wall. That's why it's so important to know where that eye wall is going to go. Those are the bigger thunderstorms that are in. In fact, those are 50,000 feet.
Okay. So I was
right
wrong.
now. And they're going to be producing some lightning as it gets closer.
So above the eye, it looks like that's where the strongest, I guess probably above the eye is where the strongest storm surge and wind. No, I guess the storm surge would be below.
Storm surge is above the eye and the winds are below.
Oh, okay.
Earlier.
Closer to land too. We'll have to watch that. This will also give you an idea of where the strongest winds are on the northwest side and then right here on the north side. We can't see the southwest side just yet on radar. It will be a couple hours before we really get a better picture of that. But we do see that we've got obviously the highest storms around the center, and we expect that. Let's go out here. Bigger picture as far as talking about flood watches and warnings. The green that you see here, these are all river flood warnings that are occurring right now, the rivers that have been running high. What you want to focus on too is this red that's here. This is a flood watch for everybody. That means we think we're going to see some flooding, and that will actually should extend to the north because I think they're going to see a little bit more rainfall than what we're going to see along the track. It looks like the center line of the storm, and then wherever it goes to the north, we'll see the most rain, and we're already seeing that. You can see Tampa, Pasco, Hernando. This will be the heaviest rain, essentially, for parts of Sarasota County. We're getting it right now, some thunderstorms as well. And then this batch, as it drifts northward, has a decent chance of producing tornadoes. So if you're in eastern Manatee, Lakewood Ranch, Duet, you're down in the eastern Sarasota County, Northport area especially, right? And then you get out east towards Wauchula, Arcadia, Harding, DeSoto counties, have a plan, know what you would do in case you get a tornado warning. We've got one now that comes up here just about to Northport. We're going to get that extending into our neck of the woods here, likely in about 25 to 30 minutes or so, if that holds together. That's a pretty decent chance that it does. Most of these stronger cells will stay mainly to our east. I do think they clip Avon Park, Frostproof, Westgate River Ranch. Awesome little place out there in southeastern Polk County. I think they need to watch out for these cells, and that's going to be more like 45 minutes or so before that even gets there. So they may not hold together as tornadoes, but that certainly is the case. The tornado watch, this big box you see here.
Okay.
Whatever, I don't even know what time that goes through. It doesn't really matter because they'll keep it in effect all the way through. I expect this through about 9 o'clock tonight. That will likely get pushed a little bit further to the north. So you say northeastern Polk County.
I'm going to pause for a second. So Gia has to go, and I'm trying to keep my live stream shorter. You just go on and on and on. I just really thank you for coming out today. It was just
oh my God, it's been too long. I'll be better.
I know you're taking time out of your workday too, so we just appreciate you being here, and we're gonna have to get you back on.
More regularly.
I'm gonna put a banner up really quickly before we say bye to Gia because I want you to go check out her channel just to give Gia some incentive to come back to our show. She started her true crime channel. It probably will evolve into more of her, I'm going to make a new banner anyway, but it's Gia Peru. Let's see. Gia.
Oh, thank you, Bubbly. Likes to color my shirt.
I said the same thing to you. When you
I know. Thank you too, Kiki.
So please go visit. Oh, and then Christy left a link in the chat. If you guys want to go visit Gia's channel, give her a sub. She's live streaming this video right here. So if you do the replay, maybe go watch it on Gia's channel. Give her a little view. But we just really appreciate you and can't wait to get you back on the podcast again.
I know. I'm going to dive deep into some of this stuff that I feel I have FOMO, fear of missing out.
I have FOMO of the chat. I get it. Well, tell both the boys that I said hi and the rest of the internet says hi.
All right. Well, bye, everyone. Great to be here. Can't wait to come back next time. We'll see ya.
Bye. So you guys, I am kind of interested in the storm. If you want to keep this going for a little bit, since we have so many people still in the chat, I'm going to keep going with the storm coverage because this seems to be a really good channel, this live coverage, 10 out of Tampa.
Symptoms of trouble on the way.
Yeah, and we want to keep you updated with what you can expect all across our Tampa Bay area. We've been checking in with our reporters, and we want to give a live report right now. Go live to our Angelicia Bruton, who joins us live from Hernando County. Angelicia, we just heard a press conference within the last hour from officials telling us that they are expecting flooding this weekend, but you're already seeing impacts from that storm there right now.
Yeah, Pine Island is known for flooding during a storm, and that's why they want people in this area to evacuate. This is a mandatory evacuation area. You can see that it's already flooding, and there's only one way in and one way out of this community. I've noticed that there's still some cars parked at the elevated point of this street here. By, I'd say in a couple hours, this whole area is going to be flooded, and that's why officials want people to leave this area, because once the water rises to an unsafe level, it's going to be hard for them to come rescue people. They could be stuck in their homes for days. And in that press conference, they were also talking about how people could be without power for days. So imagine being stuck in your home and just waiting for someone to rescue you. You might lose power on your phone, might not be able to call for help. So that's why they have several shelters open this time. Yesterday, there were about 300 people at the shelter. During the update today, they said that they had more than 490 people, and there's still more people showing up. But as the weather starts to get worse, they want people to start coming now. People should already be at the shelters as of noon. That's what they were trying to tell people, to get hunker down or go to the shelters by noon today. They've already shut down some resources. The sandbag locations stopped operations around 10 a.m. and they're still transporting people to the shelters, but they say that's only going to be for just a little bit longer as the weather permits. They're hoping people are getting on the roads right now and heading either out of town or to their shelters. Live in Pine Island, Angelicia Bruton, 10 Tampa Bay.
Where the ground is already saturated from Helene. Less than 2 weeks later, we're dealing with yet another storm, and now the high winds. The debris that you saw on the way to that space right there looks more like a salvage yard, I would imagine.
Yeah, right behind me is Alfred A. McKeithen Park. You probably don't recognize it, but I was just here 2 weeks ago. This yellow post was holding up a beautiful sign that said, "Welcome to Alfred McKeithen Park." That was destroyed in Hurricane Helene just 2 weeks ago. And this area was destroyed just last year from Hurricane Idalia and opened up in March. And they haven't even been open for a year until they had to close again due to repair. So this area has debris all over it. You can see this house right here has debris right outside their home. They've got their windows boarded up, so people in this area are just doing the best they can, but more debris is expected after this storm.
Good.
Limiting access to anybody right now that you know of, maybe to people who live to the west of US 19, other areas like Arapika, Weeki Wachee?
I'm sorry, can you ask me that again?
Just wanted to see if they're limiting access to people who live in other parts of along US 19 to the west of US 19 in Hernando County. Or do you know if they're like limiting access to other people who are trying to get in and out?
Right now, they're not. The sheriff did give an update saying that people that live near the Withlacoochee River should expect flooding pretty soon. They expected them to evacuate early as possible because they are expecting a lot of road closures in that area. I was pretty surprised that this area hasn't flooded yet. This area flooded first during Hurricane Helene, and the road was closed before 3.
All right, Angelicia, thank you. We'll let you get to a safer space right there. And as we say all the time is tight. I want to show you this right here. If we have the video of the Skyway Bridge, because we mentioned at the top of the hour that bridge is closed, Sarah.
Yeah, so the Sunshine Skyway Bridge is closed right now. If you plan on driving or trying to get through the area, there are alternate ways that you can take. You can take 41 or I-75. Officials, again, closing that bridge because they say it is no longer safe. And this typically happens when winds top 45 miles per hour.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want our rescue crews to need someone to rescue them in the midst of this chaos that's going on right now. We know we tell our friends at home to heed all the warnings because of something like that. But the animals that we have really depend on us to take care of them.
That's right. We want to get you video right now of a dog being rescued off of I-75. Take a look at this video. You see the dog.
Yeah.
Oh, so sweet.
So the dog is tied to a pole. Tied to a pole on 75 near Bruce B. Downs Boulevard in Tampa. That was this morning. Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
Now they are warning as people evacuate. I know you have a lot on your hands and maybe you don't know how you're going to take care of you and yours, but if that dog is yours, you are responsible for it. Don't do that.
Yeah, and it's incredible that someone even called this in, that they were able to find a dog right there off of I-75.
Just abandoned.
I know, and also a reminder to stay off the roads. We're thankful that this dog was rescued, but we're already seeing a crash that happened along I-75, ponding along the roadways earlier. And a reminder, if you do plan on driving and you see some officials along the roadways, to move over. It is Florida law. Slow down to 20 miles below the speed limit and move over.
Yeah, you got to move over. Listen, I'm not a dog aficionado, but just seeing the height of that, what appears to be a terrier right there. Thankfully, that dog rescued. You can see the height of the water as we're talking about it coming down. Bobby D, what's the...
You guys, don't get too sad. I know it's hard to watch, but obviously that dog was blessed by God because he didn't let anything happen to that dog. And now he's going to find his forever home. So nobody cry. The dog looked healthy.
Situation on the rainfall right about now.
Well, let's get back out to the tornado warnings because we have a new warning for Highlands County. It's that one cell that I was talking about. The new one is this one right here that extends up towards Lake Placid. The cell is actually down here that we're watching. This is Lake Placid. There's the other one that we were watching. Okay, so it will stay east of 27. This is 27 right in here. It will stay east of there. So if you're in Lake Placid west of 27, you're okay for now, but let me track this new one because the new one, and that's the one that's really been impressive. You can see it there. That one is going.
I'm just going to interject. This comment, I just want to elaborate on it a second. After Hurricane Katrina, emergency measures drastically changed because there were people who said they were turned away when they got to the evacuation buses with their pets. No pets allowed. So people stayed with their pets and died. And so they had to change that 20 years ago where people will choose they look at their pet as a family member, and just the devastation of having to leave your pet behind in Hurricane Katrina. And people were like, well, what do I do? Do I leave a week worth of food out for my dog? How does he get water? It was just brutal. And so, I mean, just remember, like, things changed after Katrina, and now you are allowed to evacuate with your pets. Look into it if you're interested. Sorry, I just thought I'd add that non-professional.
Going to be moving towards. We still have this tornado warning from Bonita Springs up to east of Fort Myers. Port Charlotte's fine now. Northport, we have some viewers out there right around the curve on 75. Fine so far. And good news for you, the bulk of that particular band is now moving through the area. So we might make it unscathed here as far as tornado warnings go for that area of Northport and eastern parts of Sarasota. We'll keep an eye on it. It's this area right in here, out towards Myakka Park, really, that we've seen a lot of the tornadoes recently. But Highlands County, be in your shelter, especially Lake Placid. You've got about 30 minutes of this really before it gets in there, say 20 to 30 minutes. I will be back with you. We're going to kind of bounce back and forth, keep you updated on these tornadoes.
You guys, we have to read this comment from Cyber Ninja. And Cyber Ninja, our prayers are with your family. My family was stuck on I-75. They finally went 45 minutes, but still in red zone. But there's no gas to go further. What do you do? What do you do? Do you stay in your car and hope the car is your boat? Like, what do you do when you run out of gas on the evacuation route? It's crazy. I just, they've got each other, and I'm sure God is with them.
And we'll be keeping obviously a close.
Uh-oh, I think I paused it.
That when the AC come back on. But we also want to make sure that that figure is accurate. So once the storm clears our area, we'll get out, we'll be identifying what the challenges are, some of the issues that are actually causing power outages, and then we're going to be working day and night to get the lights, the AC, the power back on.
How long does it typically take? Would you say it just varies per case depending on how much work it takes, how much damage there is?
Yeah, each storm is different, right? I mean, I was here in Sarasota for Hurricane Debbie, and while that one didn't even make landfall in Sarasota, there was significant flooding from that one. Here, we haven't gotten quite as much early rain as we did for Debbie, but obviously this one's making a direct impact here in the Tampa Bay area. So each storm has its unique challenges that are going to be leading to those outages, leading to prolonged outages. But as soon as we can get a good identification of what that restoration time is going to look like, we're going to be providing that to customers. But again, it needs to be accurate. But again, I can't emphasize enough. We are going to be working around the clock once this storm stops to be getting the lights back on.
We hear that message loud and clear. Bobby, you can't see this graphic that I'm sorry, Marshall. I was thinking about Bobby Deskin saying every storm is different,
Yes.
right? He's in my line of sight right now, but we also have this graphic up on the screen for folks. You can't see this, but folks at home can. Let us know if there's something we need to add to this checklist. If you lose power, turn off, disconnect electronics to prevent damage out there. Also, leave one light or radio on to alert you when it's restored, and never stand in water. Say that again, never stand in water while operating switches or plugs. Anything you want to throw on that list for us so folks at home can add that to the list?
Yeah, those are great things. But if we've said it a million times, we haven't said it enough. Keep safety top of mind, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned not going into standing water. That is obviously important. If they are going to use a generator, never operate that generator indoors. It needs to be outside,
Great
away
advice.
from open doors and windows, right? Just because a storm clears our area does not mean that the hazards have left too. So keeping safety top of mind for our customers is extremely important now and then after Hurricane Milton.
And obviously, Marshall, is there anything else we can do in anticipation of power outages? We always hear to turn off your power, turn off that breaker if you have rising water in your home as well.
I think the big thing is that generator safety, right? A lot of folks, maybe they only pull out the generator once, twice a year. Maybe they might not be super familiar with it every single time they do. Folks on the west coast of the state, maybe a little bit different. They've been, having to pull that out a couple more times than expected, but making sure that the generator, that you know how to operate it and you're using it safely is really, really important for our customers.
All right, there you have it. Marshall Hastings with Florida Power and Light giving us the very latest.
I'm just going to pause here for a second because Joey's actually from Massachusetts area where I'm from, and we had the most bizarre weather this morning rolling through the Cape and Islands. It was unreal. It was like rolling thunder that I can't even explain it. It was like thunder that lasted like a minute or two, and like lightning that was super bright it was just kept going and going. It was just a massive thunderstorm over the water. And I know it's so far removed from this storm, but it makes me think, did it have some sort of connection to the storm? I just assumed Joey heard about it on the news or felt some of it coming through our neighborhoods this morning. I don't know if that matters to you guys.
To know right about now.
And
Skyway Bridge now closed, and Sarah pointed this out a few moments ago. Sustained winds above 40 miles an hour. That is the highest height when it comes to bridges right here in the Bay Area. So the winds are higher.
Yeah, the winds are higher, and that does mean that you can still get out if you're trying. If the Sunshine Skyway is normally along your evacuation route, you want to get north away from the Tampa Bay area, you can take 41 or I-75 as ways to still continue your path out of our area.
Also, mass power outages expected. We just wrapped up a conversation right there with Florida Power and Light. Marshall Hastings taking some time out of the day, 17,000 crews scattered across the area to make sure that they can tend to your needs when power is out, because they are expecting this problem.
Yeah, he says they're going to be working around the clock to make sure they can get your power restored as quickly as possible. There are things you can do to stay safe when it comes to generators and when it comes to preparing your home as well. We have A lot of that
I heard
information
it
on
too,
our website.
Bubbly. It's not you. They were like talking.
Great resource, and several shelters have reached capacity. We heard from the governor just earlier this morning talking about 31,000 people inside those shelters, space for 200,000.
That's right. And you know what? They do have several shelters that are opening, new ones that are opening up across our area as well. We've been telling you about those throughout the day. In Pinellas County, in Hillsborough County, some new shelters are available for you. So check out our website again, and we'll be listing those.
Yeah, TampaBay.com, great resource. Get that app as well. It is free. Want to do this check-in with Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins, because Bobby, we were talking tornadoes just moments ago.
Yeah, we're still talking tornadoes. We have both of those warnings out into Highlands County right now. And you can see the area of rotation right here. There's Sylvan Shores. Sebring's up in here. Timing now has Lake Placid around 12:54. So we're getting a little bit closer, about 17 minutes or so from that. Let me get over here. I also want to show you the cell that's now east of Lake Placid. That one, I think, stays to the east. You can see that right in there. That's still a really good signature saying that there's still likely a tornado at least trying to touch the ground. The radar doesn't see the ground. It can't, because it would have to go through the trees, right? It goes out at just a little bit of an angle, just like kind of that. So what we're actually seeing is the cloud deck, the lower part of the cloud deck.
I don't know if this is even relevant to the storm, because I don't know which would be sturdier, bricks or concrete. I don't know. I don't know about bricks. Maybe I was thinking you were talking about foundation or something, but they don't build a lot of brick houses. I wonder how much wind a brick house can sustain. I don't know. But yeah, maybe people should rethink how we build our houses. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting question. I'll stop talking now.
Deck here, and that is in towards Sebring. Now, Sebring, right now you're good. Most of this one's going to stay to the east. I don't think we have a problem with this particular one, but that will get up there. In fact, where was that? That was, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more on this one, because that is up there by Plains. And Plains is going to be in very close to this. Cornwell, you'll be okay. You're just to the east. But if you're in the Plains area, obviously in your safe spot. Many walls between you and the outside world. Take this one seriously. The tornadoes that we've seen so far, the videos, have shown some really strong ones. And there's no doubt that that could do the same thing. Now, once this gets north of Plains, it's a really kind of empty area out here. There's not a lot. So that's a good news that if we're going to have tornadoes, we have them over very, very rural areas. But Sebring, Coleman, and Lake Placid, that cell's been holding together. It's down to your south. This thing's been holding together for 45 minutes at least.
You guys, I'm going to pause this simply because I think I have another channel that might bring us a little bit, something that we all want to see, which is I found a weather channel while that was going that is showing some aerial footage of the hurricane. So and they're doing live coverage right now too. So let's stream their channel for a moment and see. Oops, it's the one we just had. Try this again. I'm not very coordinated this morning. Here we go. Okay, this is it's Just Weather is the name of the channel. And this live stream already has 1.3 million views in the last 2 days. Oh, thanks. All right, this isn't really what I thought it was. Okay, so I want to wrap this up, but I want to end with something that I think we would all appreciate, everybody watching. I have the permission from this channel to use their images, and I want to end with this tribute video. 1 second. My computer's moving slow. There we go. Okay, let me share my screen. And I'm going to play this one. I'm just going to put on my own music though, because unfortunately the music's copyrighted, but I'll display your comments. I just thought, you know, the whole reason we're doing this podcast is because Gia, that was just on here earlier, Gia and I did a segment on the Idaho 4 one day, and our viewers wanted to hear more and kept pushing us. So here we are over a year later, still covering the Idaho 4 in this podcast. And so just to remind everyone why we're doing this is the victims. And so I'm going to play this video. I'll also put Justice's handle up here. You go visit her channel, give her a like and a sub. She has beautiful videos like this. And a lot of the pictures of the victims are very personal and ones you may not have seen before. So with that said, let me take myself off the screen. So I'm going to be signing off today. I just want to thank my mods who showed up. I really appreciate your help in the live chat and keeping it classy. And the comments were amazing today, and I really appreciate everything that you guys contributed, but mostly thank you for your prayer for that. We're all praying for FLA. If you can hear us and you're in Florida and you have any doubts, just evacuate. And, for watching, and we'll see you next time.